core part of the human experience is to create and be creative. It's inevitable. We create all the time. And even when we don't know it, and even in the most mundane ways, like when we take a new route for our neighborhood stroll, or when we take a new route to avoid traffic while driving, or when we arrange the furniture in our bedroom for a fresh look, or when we try on a new pair of shoes with an outfit that you haven't combined before. That is all creation. And just for a moment, think about that feeling. When your outfit combination is just right, and that furniture arrangement feels just right, the couch fits perfectly in that corner, or the new things you came across in your new walking route, that feeling of satisfaction that you get, it's unmatched. It's the output of something that you altered. And for some unknown reason, you had this urge to alter something, and you created something new as a result. That is all creativity. And in its essence, creativity is the subtle ways in which you change your reality to adjust to what you want. It's making things different on purpose. Creativity doesn't only exist in the more traditional art form. Like when we think of artists, we think about them composing their art, composing things onto a canvas. But you're composing your own world every single day. That's all creation too. And I think we have this notion that creating is only for artists. It's this talent that they've built, this skill that they have, that they're born with. But that's not the case. Everyone is able to create. The main difference between us and stereotypical artists is just how publicly we share our creations. And the act of wanting to share itself is a combination of so many things. It's like this delicate balancing act of wanting the validation or joy behind the serendipitous effects of sharing more than your fear of judgment, which is, a consequence of sharing, especially publicly. Who we think of as artists simply publicize their creations more than ourselves. And the act of publicly sharing doesn't legitimize art any more than privately treasuring it. They're just simply varying levels of desire to share art. But private creations are no less artistic than public ones. So private or public, grand or subtle, traditional or untraditional, creating is accessible to everyone, and we all do it. So how does it happen? It is my belief that creativity is the result of a specific condition of the human mind. When we create, we have to dare to alter something. Think about it. In fact, think about the original examples. A new walking route in your neighborhood, rearranging furniture in your bedroom, a new outfit combination. All of these things alter your surroundings or your routine. And they alter the way in which you usually do something. So you've dared to alter, and therefore you have created. But to get to the point of motivation where you want to alter something, you must first notice it. And it's really not as easy as it sounds to truly, truly notice something, because there are so many conditions that need to be met so that you are primed in your mind to notice. So firstly, to be able to notice, you need to be in a state of awareness. Now, much of this comes down to how you pay attention. If you think about how you spend most of your day, most of it is run on autopilot. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you make breakfast, you eat, you work, you go to the gym. And then after the entire day, when you're depleted of energy, you might just want to tune out. And a lot of that looks like eating Netflix, eating Netflix. A lot of that looks like putting on some Netflix while you eat, FaceTiming a friend, doing some chores, running some errands maybe. I mean, when is it that you're in any sort of awareness in regards to yourself or in regards to your surroundings? When are you truly paying attention? It's somewhat fascinating how little time we spend thinking about ourselves and where we are at, both physically and emotionally. That would be the first step, to induce this state of awareness in which you can simply observe. This means without thinking about the next thing on your calendar or the unread notifications on your phone or ruminating about the past or the future or literally anything except what is happening right now in this moment. And it's much more than just sitting still, but sitting still is a great way to start. Awareness isn't a state that you can just force to happen, but it is the simple consequence of being present. And that means having acceptance of the current moment. And that peace that we find within acceptance is when we notice these thoughts that can actually prompt creativity. And next, after you get a sense of what that state of awareness feels like, you must then learn to filter through the noise. Think about the moments that you sit still. Maybe it's the first few moments after which you wake up. Maybe it's when you just finished cooking a meal and you're getting ready to eat. Or maybe you're waiting for an Uber. Each of these times, you could be still. You could be prompting this state of awareness. But how many of these times do we do the exact opposite and instead overload our brains with information? Watching short form clips, maintaining these endless threads of communication online. We're addicted to the noise. And part of the human condition is to be distracted and stay distracted. But all of these examples that I just mentioned were all external noise. And once you take a moment to get rid of those, even momentarily, then comes the real discomfort. And that is your internal noise. It's filled with memories of the past and fantasies of the future and expectations of yourself and others. And it all happens so automatically that it's hard to figure out that if this is just noise or our thoughts. But once you learn to sit with that noise and filter out the things that are not about the present moment, there's very little left. And that is a sliver of peace, of acceptance, of openness to receiving. And when you do that, you're able to notice yourself, your desires, and your emotions. And then you begin to question things and wish to alter them. So once you've reached the state of awareness and filtered out the noise, the most important thing of all is validating those desires. No matter how stupid they sound, any question you have about why things are the way they are, or ideas you have of how to do things differently, you have to validate them. Validating that desire as reasonable is important. Even if it sounds ridiculous as you say it out loud, making a habit out of validating your own questions, your own desires, is bound to make bigger creative ideas come your way. So, on that note, if we know about the things that prevent us from tapping into our creativity, which is all we've talked about up until now, how do we do more of it? There are many ways. So before I give my thoughts on how to do more of it, I want to say that it's not a science and it's not meant to be. Creative thought is intuitively perceived rather than consciously recorded. So throughout history, as humans, we've tried to create these frameworks to understand the world, ways of thinking that we can align on. And much of this we call science. Scientific frameworks and concepts are a great way to get a generalized understanding of how things work around us. But thinking of everything in these logical, generalized frameworks makes it feel like some things aren't meant to be questioned. A framework means we can't dare to alter it. It's supposed to be the ultimate truth. And an interesting thing that I've noticed is that the more we see the world through these frameworks as a default, the less sensitive we become. And sensitivity is a requirement of creativity. And maybe that's why science and art are often pitted against each other as opposites. But it doesn't mean both cannot be achieved simultaneously. Science and art. But it does mean that the more used to we become in viewing the world through these frameworks, the harder it becomes to maintain this sense of wonder that's required for us to notice our surroundings enough to wish to alter them. Creativity stems from a sense of wonder, and the wonder is required for us to notice our surroundings and then wish to alter them. And that all goes back to that state of awareness. So to be creative, we need to pay attention to the natural thoughts that come our way. It's the things that we notice naturally. And we need to take these signals and lean into them. So when things stick out to us, such as words on a page or a video or a sight that just completely captures our attention, so completely, notice it. Maybe even write it down. There's some reason that resonated with you, and you don't need to understand it. In fact, the need to understand is very similar to wanting that generalized, logical, scientific framework to explain everything. But for a moment, just forget that. If you're able to just to pay attention, be sensitive, have wonder, and notice the thing that captures your attention, and not questioning why it captured your attention, just writing it down. That act, that moment of resonance is what starts this creative process. So to be creative, we have to be open to what arises naturally. Creativity is inherently unique. Each creative act is a reflection of ourselves in ways that we probably can't comprehend. So I don't recommend asking yourself about why certain ideas do resonate, why certain ideas caught your attention. It's probably that part of you that craves this very logical, generalized framework to explain everything. But I don't think creativity works like that. To have these unique thoughts that can transform into creative acts, we need to be open to receiving those unique thoughts. And this openness comes from accepting the things that aren't explainable, that resonate without a reason that you can assign to it. So we say that creativity is this practice of paying attention, because it's only when you pay attention that you've dared to alter the things around you. And there's this other practice, which is also about paying attention, and it's known as meditation. There exists a meaningful relationship between meditation and creativity. Both require a degree of openness. I'd almost say that meditation itself can train your mind to notice creative thoughts as an outcome. Meditation is also known as the act of intentionally slowing down. And the consequences of slowing down are all the same as what we talked about earlier. Slowing down induces this state of awareness, and being in this state of awareness can help us learn to filter out noise. And only then we can validate ideas enough to turn them into creative acts. And another thing needs to be said about your environment and how that can make you in a naturally more creative state, because you're likely to be naturally more aware as you're in them. So if meditation is an unnatural environment because of the high degree of effort required to do it, there are other environments that feel more natural because they require a lot less effort to access the state of awareness. And some of those environments are related to transitions. A transition could be physical. It could be moving to a new city, a new apartment, a new job, a new school. All of these transitory experiences are so immersive. They're so immersive that they promote this state of awareness and a very natural, low effort openness that can make it seem almost easy to be creative. Now, it's not the transition itself that promotes creativity. It's that we're naturally in a more open state because of all the new things that we're immersed in. So that's physical, but there's also emotional transitions like death or breakups or giving birth. And these are also very immersive experiences that promote the act of creating. And in fact, we've probably heard of so many different artists or creatives that we know that have produced the best work of their life while being in emotional times like that. Another thing about environments is that I find creativity fuels more creativity. If you're around people that are either going through physical or emotional transitions, especially if they're super immersive, or accessing these states of awareness, whatever the cause is, if you're around people that are creative and access their creativity, tap into it and validate their ideas and produce creative acts, whatever that may be, It's very likely to inspire you yourself to become more open minded just by observing others do it themselves. But meditation, transitions, environments, or thinking your way into creativity isn't necessary. They help, but they're not necessary. Because, to the original point, you are already creative. It's innate. You just have to learn to tap into your own creativity, and nobody else can do that for you because it's meant to be uniquely you. So, what you feel and nobody else sees is probably something. Explore that. That book that resonated with you, but maybe your friends disliked. Explore that. That quote that you hold dear to your heart, explore that. And by exploring, I don't mean analyze it. That isn't the goal. The goal isn't to fit it into a framework of science. I mean, accept the fact that you noticed it and lean into those thoughts. Sit with it. Observe what comes up. Don't force it. Just observe.